Hello, my name is Lewis and welcome to Gathering the Magic. Today we're looking at a $50 budget Neera Wild Mage deck tech. From Commander Legends 2, this human elf shaman says whenever you cast a spell, you may put it on the bottom of its owner's library. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-land card. You may play that card without paying its mana cost, with this ability triggering only once each turn. So this deck is all about those tiny spells. We're playing all of those 1 or 2 drop spells to put them on the bottom of our library, then playing those huge mana value cards for free, and overwhelming our opponents to get that victory. Now, let's get straight into the budget deck tech. As always, we're starting off this budget brew hot with all of that ramp. First on up is Fire Diamond and Ice Diamond that both ETB tapped, but you can tap them to add a mountain or island. We have Commander Spear to tap for any of those Is It colours and Mind Stone to tap for colourless, that both have that extra sacrificial card draw option. We have Huge Sorcery Mana Geyser that adds a mountain to your mana pool for each tap land your opponents control, and Seething Song that can add 5 mountain to your mana pool. There's Felwar Stone to add 1 mana of any colour that a land an opponent controls could produce, and Worn Power Stone that you can tap to add 2 colourless to your mana pool. We have Is It Locket or Is It Key Rune to add either island or mountain to your mana pool, and with that Locket having that sacrificial draw 2 card option. And taking the trip into Signet City, we have Is It Signet and Arcane Signet to again add either of those Is It colours. Having all these rocks in this deck is no problem, because if we're using that Neera trigger and getting them, well then it's free ramp. And finally, we have Soul Ring, because Soul Ring. Before we get into those small spells, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for all things MTG. Subscribing is completely free to do, and it helps our channel grow and grow. We do also have a channel membership, so become a prickly pal today and help support the channel. As we said, now we are looking at all of those tiny spells. First on up is Brainstorm to draw 3 cards, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library. And Index that says look at the top 5 cards of your library, then putting them back in any order. We've added in Ponder to look at the top 3 cards of your library, putting them back in any order, and drawing a card. Important that says look at the top 3 cards of target player's library, then either shuffle that library or put those 3 cards on top of the library in any order, drawing a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep. We've thrown in Spy Network to look at target player's hand, the top card of that player's library, and any face down creatures they control. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, putting them back in any order. And Trickery Charm that most importantly says look at the top 4 cards of your library, then put them back in any order. Having all of these spells that allow us to look at our library, see what's coming up is perfect. We can use that to Neera's advantage, put those big powerful cards near the top, play those cheap spells, and then we have an even better chance at that victory royale. We have Enchantment Soothsaying that we can pay to shuffle our library, or pay X to look at the top X cards of your library and put them back in any order. And Otherworldly Gaze to look at the top 3 cards of your library, putting any number of them into your graveyard and the rest back on the top of your library in any order, with that beloved flashback option. There's Preordain to scry 2 then draw a card, and Deliberate to scry 2 and then also draw a card. We have Classic Blue card Opt to scry 1 drawing a card, and Samut Sprint that says target creature gets +2/+1 and gains haste until end of turn, scrying 1. As we can see, there are not only so many 1-drops in this deck, but so many 1-drop instants, so we can do this on each of our opponent's turns and maximise those Neera triggers. We have Fading Hope to return target creature to its owner's hand. If its mana value was 3 or less, scry 1. And Unsummon that says return target creature to its owner's hand. There's Vapor Snag to return target creature to its owner's hand with its controller losing 1 life. And Stern Dismissal to return target creature or enchantment an opponent controls to its owner's hand. Not only are these good 1-drops for Neera, but also a good way to remove some of your enemy's creatures if you need it. We've got Blink of an Eye to return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If it was kicked, draw a card. And Crimson Wisps that says target creature becomes red and gains haste until end of turn, drawing a card. We have some classic red cards in Accelerate and Expedite that gives the target creature haste until end of turn, both drawing a card. And finally we have Reality Shift that says exile target creature. Its controller manifests the top card of their library. So we've looked at all those cheap mana value cards, let's look at the big ones we can cheat onto the field thanks to Neera. We're starting with some disgusting classics. First up is Artisan of Kozilek that says when you cast this spell, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, with that Annihilator 2. And Desolation Twin, this says when you cast it, put a 10/10 colourless Eldrazi creature token onto the field. For some card stealing action, we have Etali Primal Storm, that when attacks you exile the top card of each player's library, then you may cast any number of those spells from among those cards without paying their mana costs. And Hullbreaker Horror, the flashy Kraken Horror that can't be countered, and whenever you cast a spell, you can either return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. That is horrible.
You really are the worst.
There's Maelstrom Colossus, the 7/7 with Cascade, and Melek Izzet Paragon that says play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast instant and sorcery spells from the top of your library, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your library, copy it, and you can choose new targets for the copy. You love to see it. We have Uncounterable Nezahal Primal Tide that gives you no maximum hand size, and whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card, with that option to bring it back to the field. And another uncounterable creature in Niv Mizzet, the Flying Dragon Wizard, says whenever you draw a card, it deals 1 damage to any target, and whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. There is Zephyr Thunder Conductor, that says when you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, scry 1. If the spell's mana value is 5 or greater, create a 4/4 elemental creature token, and if that spell's mana value is 10 or greater, Zephyr deals 10 damage to an opponent chosen at random. And Archmage Emeritus, this is whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. On to the final two, we have Talrand, that says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying, and Murmuring Mystic, that does the same except it creates you a 1/1 flying bird token. Before we finish up with all of those lands, we're looking at the best of the rest in this budget brew. And continuing on with that token making army, we have Young Pyromancer, this is whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, create a 1/1 elemental creature token. And Jorien Ruin Diver, this is whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. As seen in the most recent game nights, of course we had to throw in Delina Wild Mage and Harmonic Prodigy. Delina says when you roll a d20, if you roll 1 to 14, you create a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of that creature, exiling it at the end of combat. And if you get 15 to 20, you create one of those tokens and roll again. And Harmonic Prodigy, the prowess human wizard that says if an ability of a shaman or another wizard you control triggers, that ability triggers another time. There's Goblin Electromancer that says instant and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. And Jace's Sanctum that does exactly the same, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, scry 1. We have that Red Wall Electrostatic Field that says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. And Gutter Snipe that deals 2 damage to each opponent when you cast those instant or sorceries. This deck is full of instant or sorceries, taking over a third of the deck in total, so these are a bunch of cards that really could do a load of damage, or really help create that big army. We've broke the bank a tiny bit to throw in Bergi, God of Storytelling. This is whenever you cast a spell, add a mountain. Until end of turn you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. And always rising in price, Stormkill Artist. This is whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a treasure token. There's Depths of Desire that says return target creature to its owner's hand, creating a treasure token. And Flash of Insight that says look at the top X cards of your library, put one of them in your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library, which you can also flash back. And for the final 4 cards we have all of those classic counter spells. First one up is Counterspell to counter a target spell, and Negate to counter target non-creature spell. We have Rewind to counter target spell, untapping up to 4 lands, and Unwind to counter target non-creature spell, untapping up to 3 lands. So as always, we are wrapping up this deck tech with all of those lands, starting off here with the basics, of which there are 16 island and 14 mountain, because this deck runs slightly heavier on those islands. There's Command Tower to add 1 mana of either Izzet colours, and Exotic Orchard to add a mana of any colour a land an opponent controls could produce. There is Evolving World and Terramorphic Expanse that we can both sacrifice to search our library for a basic land card, putting it onto the field tapped. And finally there's Izzet Boilerworks, that lovely blue-red bounce land, and Temple of Epiphany to give us one more chance to scry our library. Neera is not only a really cool new commander from Commander Legends 2, but also a really powerful one, and one that I've seen in various videos pop off hard. It's definitely a card that I would love to build myself one day. There we have it, that is the $50 budget Neera deck tech. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel for all things MTG. Check out our link tree in the description below for all of our social media and affiliate links. For now though, I'm all tapped out. So I'll see you in the next video.